Morning, Year 7. I hope you're staying well and getting some work done, being very productive at home. I wanted to make this little video to explain the notification of assessment and maybe look through student tasks to give you guys a little bit of a understanding of where we are, where we're heading, and what needs to be done and when. I've had a few questions. Please don't hesitate to email your teacher if you do have any questions. I know with my classes, I've asked them to post on the day's lesson post if they've got any questions, because be great if it's a question that everybody might benefit from hearing the answer from. So this is your notification assessment. Now, nothing's changed for you. There's modifications that have been made in terms of you working in your VAPD, but in terms of the assessment and the content, nothing has changed. So our assessment is still due week 5, term 2. Now, with all art assessments, the unit goes for 14 weeks. Now, we're not expecting you to be working ahead of us. So your teachers will be setting work each week. And as long as you're staying up to date with that work and following those deadlines, there is no need for you to jump ahead and work ahead, because there's things that we teach in class that then help you to create a drawing, then to create your symbols, then to create your backgrounds, and of course to write your theory assessment. So it's a good idea to become familiar with the task, but as long as you're staying on track with your teacher and what's been put on Classroom, there's no need to try and finish this beforehand. Like I said, it's still due week 5 next term. We have 35% of the 50% being art making, and then we have a written component. Now, your teacher will have, or maybe very soon, setting a little informal theory task that goes towards an aspect of your report, but not your final mark. You'll be talking about the screen and artwork. You'll be describing and explaining. So there'll be a lesson around that, and you may not already have done that task and submitted that digitally on Classroom. Your teacher will provide you feedback on that, and then you'll use that feedback in order to keep improving your writing to then work on your written assessment that's part of the formal assessment in this document. Okay, so you can have a little read through all this yourself about what we're looking for and what we're marking, but I'm just going to keep scrolling down. Okay, so here's the task. As you know, everything has been placed in student tasks. It's continually updated. Things are being added there to help you draw, help you find things. There's some frequently asked questions in there. So everything you need to know is in there. So our art making task, what we're going to be doing. So you will have done a fabulous drawing of half of Justin Bieber's face. And you would have drawn the other side, thinking about proportions and what you learned in class about where to place the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the structure of the face. Now is your time to draw yourself. Now, if your teacher hasn't taken a picture of you, or you didn't get your picture, you can take your own. There are instructions of how to do this in student tasks. Okay, so the first part is a realistic drawing of yourself. So similar to what we did with Justin Bieber, you got to do with your own face on your good piece of paper. Your teacher would have given you a good piece of paper. Again, if you don't have that, don't stress. You can just do it in your VAPD. The good piece of paper is just a bit thicker and a bit better paper. So if you can get your hands on some art paper that's a bit thicker than your VAPD, that's all that is. And that was on A4. Please use 2B pencil. 2B pencil is going to allow you to build up tones easier because it's a softer and darker pencil. Don't try and blend and use tone with a HB. It will be, you won't get the same or as good as results when you're drawing with it. So if you try and get your hands on a 2B pencil, even a 4B, and you'll see the difference. The 4B is even darker than that. So you're going to use this layout here, and I'll run through in student tasks in just a moment. And we're expecting correct proportions and ratios. So divide the eye line into 5. Your eye line should be halfway down your head. Your nose should be at a quarter of the way up the head. So all those things we've talked about, resources are in student tasks. Apply accurate detail and realistic texture to the hair, features, and face and clothing. And we want to build up 3D forms using tones. So you look 3D, highlights, midtones, and shadows. What we don't want is a wishy-washy grey drawing. We want you to have the range of tones. So you want to have the darks, you want to have the whites, and you want to have the in-between. So highlights, midtones, and shadows. And of course, it needs to look like you. So that there is the first part of realistic drawing. Now, guys, we would like that done by beginning of week 11. What you're going to do is submit that for a progress mark. So it's going to be finished, but from here you can then work on your feedback from your teacher to then influence your final mark in week 5. So we want to see it finished, but of course then you can work to improve it. So that's a realistic self-portrait drawing. In terms of the background, we'll be doing this mainly next term, so no stress about this yet. Yes, you can have a little read through. There is some stuff on student tasks, but it's not something that we would expect you to start over the holidays. Maybe the planning for it. Just keep your eye on student tasks and what your teacher is setting each lesson that we would normally see you. In this task, you'll find the core option or the extension above level option. Again, you don't need to start on this. This will be primarily next term. In terms of our portrait, we're really going to be leaving this behind as of next term and starting on our background. Okay, so then we create a gridded background inspired by this artist called Amance Tiller, and you might recognise the footballer in there being Greg Inglis, those Rabbitohs fans. We're going to create a background inspired by this in a grid using symbols that represent our own identity. So this is going to be the background, and then we're going to be cutting out our portrait and sticking it up on top. So that's stage 3, putting it all together. Okay, that's the practical task. The written component, yes, you can go and have a look at it. You could start it if you like, but you're not expected to. We're still building on some literacy skills. So that will be part B, and you complete it all within this template if you click on that link. Further down, you'll find the marking criteria if you can get your head around that. What is an A, B, C, D, and E of each part of the task? So art making, proportion, tone, meaning, and your background. And then you'll see the marking criteria for part B. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to say it one more time. You don't need to be starting on all parts of that task. Just be directed by your teacher. Okay, just going to show you a student task and we'll have a little look through there. Okay. So you should have toned a sphere. We looked at drawing faces. We would have completed half of Justin Bieber's face. And just a reminder that all the links are in there that you need, okay? Looked at different proportion techniques. We look and we think before we draw. That's very, very important. And some toning tips. Okay, don't worry too much about this one. Your teacher will set that when they see fit. Anything in grey are lessons that are coming that still need to be planned and written by our teachers. So don't worry about those either. Okay, this was the frames and the screen written task that I explained. Your teacher will set this. I know boys in my class, you should have all submitted that and that should all be completed. Just a reminder that you need to highlight your green and blue words. If you don't know what that is, you'll need to go back into that lesson. Okay, now to the formal assessment. As mentioned, you'll be creating a self-portrait. We have a realistic self-portrait. We're going to put it onto a background and we're going to glue it all together. That's that. Portrait on a background. Okay. I won't read through all of this. I'm going to let you read through this, guys, but these are the instructions and the requirements of each task. This came directly from the notification of assessment. So this was a realistic portrait drawing. I would like it to be in this sort of scale and proportion to the page, and you'll see there are some instructions later on. So this is what we're looking for in here. You can have a little read through that yourself. Some examples of an end product. Okay, we want to see tone, we want to see texture, we want to see all the details added. Look at all those lovely details in each of those young man's eyes. Eyelashes, we've got the pupil, we've got the coloured iris, all the folds of the eyelids, eyebrows, all the texture and the detail in the face is what you'll need to capture. I've just created a frequently asked questions. What if my teacher did not take a photo of me? There's some instructions there. You want to have it looking somewhat like this. Don't take it in a dark room. We want nice, consistent lighting and some detail. What if I didn't get my good piece of paper? Just use your VAPD or another thick piece of paper if you have it. Another recommendation before you do start drawing is turning your photo to black and white. It's much easier to do a tonal drawing using pencil of a black and white photo than it is of a colour photo, and you will soon see why. And don't forget to draw your little tonal scale on the side of the paper. Okay, how to start your portrait. I recommend that you go and look through all these documents. There's some great videos here to watch. Sketching a face, drawing a face and toning a face, and these are the two that we went through in class. This top one, if I was to click on it and it opens, it should look familiar. Your teacher should have gone through it in class. It goes through different parts of the face and the different features of the face and how to draw them. and what the different shapes might be. Okay, so don't forget about that one there. All the links are active. If they're not, please let me know and I'll make sure I go and fix that up. Okay, next slide. How to start your portrait. So we're all getting consistent and we're not drawing a little head. Okay, so we're drawing a good sized head. I don't know if you can see that there. I'll just present it. Okay, these here are called construction lines. They're so faint that we can rub them out. I know it's hard for you guys to sometimes draw faint lines, but very faint lines to draw in our construction lines and the structure of our face. So we're coming 5 down, as you can see, 5 down, then 20 down, and then of course 20 divides by 4. So each of these are going to be 5, 5, 5, 5. We have the top of the head with no hair, remember. Hair sits up off the head, the hairline where it meets the forehead, eyes, nose, and chin. All those instructions are just written there. Okay, so I've just said once you've drawn up your guidelines as per the previous slide, sketch lightly, guys. Do not press down hard. We're not comic characters. We don't have black outlines. So sketch really, really lightly. 1, you can rub it out, and 2, not every feature of the face, such as the bridge of the nose, is going to have thick black lines. Okay, so really, really nice and light. We create definition by adding tone and adding darkness around the face. So some links to those documents again in case. And just an order of what I suggest that you do: the face, eyes, eyebrows, nose, lips, ears, outlines of the hair. Okay. Another reminder too, as I said before, turn it to black and white. It would be much easier to draw. In the coming days, I'll add another slide that says toning, but in the meantime, just try and get that right. Now, your teacher will also be setting some progress check-ins on Classroom where you'll submit photos of your face to see how you're going and get a little bit of feedback. But Year 7, I hope that gives you a little bit more understanding of what's coming and what's next. So really, until the end of term, you need to think about 2 tasks: the informal theory task on the screen, and then completing your portrait. That means tone and line and hair as best as you can. I've said you may wish to do a draft in your VOPD, and that's totally fine if you want to do a draft of your face just to get your head around it before you use your good piece of paper, and then you can go on to your good piece of paper for your assessment. Any questions, please ask your teacher. I hope that helped, guys. Just focus on those 2 tasks until the end of term.